Good afternoon, everybody. Greetings from Skopje. Today we have our second virtual tour of Macedonian company Pharmachem. With us today is Vinka Tanevska from Pharmachem Management, and she has an engineering degree in chemistry. So, welcome Vinka today, and
thank you.
We have prepared some questions today, so our students are very anxious to know a little bit more about your company and the way of you doing things, and I'm sure they will ask many questions regarding the things that they are very much interesting when preparing for a new job. So we have students today from Spain, Italy, Macedonia and Finland. Greetings to everybody. So can you tell us a little bit about you?
First of all, thank you for the invitation of Pharmachem to participate in the virtual tours. It's really a pleasure for me, and I hope it will be helpful for the students. I would invite even also the newly employed people from Pharmachem to visit the platform. I think it's very useful of what I have seen so far.
That will be great, yes.
And I encourage other companies and institutions to join the project later on, maybe in the next phase.
Thank you. Yes. Can you please describe your organization? So the name is Pharmachem. What does it stand for? What type of organization it is? Maybe the size, number of employees that you have, how many years you're active on the field?
So it is a company founded in 1990. It is a company for trade of sophisticated laboratory equipment and environmental consultancy. Mm-hmm. We are 44 people in total nowadays. We have implemented ISO standards in 2003, and we have a corporate structure since 2007. So even though we are 44, we are divided in different departments. Mm-hmm. And every department has a responsible person, a manager. So besides the departments for administration, finances,
and logistics in a way, yes.
There are 3 trade departments. One is related to the biochemical laboratories and all their needs for different equipment. It's called the Department for Diagnostics and Pharmaceuticals. Then we have a department for instruments and equipment for the industries, for different pharmaceutical industries, or for some civil engineering laboratories, environmental laboratories. And we have a 3rd trade department for additives and reagents for the food industry only, and all their necessities for their laboratories. Besides the trade departments, we have a department for environmental consultancy. At the moment, it's coordinating.
Yes, we are looking at the moment on some pictures that you have from the company and from the different departments, so students can see.
So at the moment, it's coordinating a big project called Nature Conservation in Macedonia. It is financed by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. The first phase of 4 years has already been over. Now we are in the second phase of 4 years, and each phase is with a donation of 4 million of Swiss francs. It is mainly concentrated in the eastern region of Macedonia along the Bregalnica river. It's a very complex project that we are very proud of. Actually, in the description of this video, there is also a link related to the work of the project.
That's interesting.
And within the environmental department, there is also an environmental laboratory. It has been accredited since 2010 according to ISO standards for 22 parameters for different analysis of wastewater, emissions in the air, noise, etc. And there is a small part also for calibration of pipettes and measuring instruments for force. And as you have seen on the previous photo, we also have a mobile laboratory for measuring the pollution on different sites.
So it sounds that you're very active in a very wide range of
Yes.
activities. So that means that you employ different type of professionals.
Yes.
And you have maybe interdisciplinary teams. People are working
Exactly.
in teams. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Are there any challenges
course.
during the work, and how does it work?
Besides Pharmachem, we also have a company called Pharmachem Service, where there are 10 people, mainly electrical engineers and technicians and physicists.
That's another field. Okay.
Their tasks are related to the installation and maintenance of the equipment we sell. The aftercare maintenance and service and help in the application is very important. And we have a third company called Diagnostica Pharmachem, where there are 2 laboratories. At the beginning it was like a showroom for the instruments we sell for different private laboratories. But it is functioning nowadays with 13 people, 2 specialists in biochemistry, and the rest are biochemists or lab technicians. They work in 2 different locations, and they are performing more than 1,000 analyses of blood and urine. It is also a different field of application, and in Pharmachem we have chemists and biochemists and pharmacists, doctors, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, agro-engineers, agroeconomists, economists, environmental engineers. So certainly there is a challenge to find a common language between all these employees, and that's a great challenge for us all to realize complex projects where different background is necessary, and when we succeed, it's a great joy for all of us.
So employees not only that are working in Pharmachem are also collaborating with employees from the other companies, I understand, because it's overlapping and they have mutual projects maybe as well.
Yes, absolutely. We are coordinating in the following way. We have weekly meetings of every department and of every company. Each company has an executive manager. People are coordinating themselves within the departments, within the company as well, because we have weekly meetings of the whole company as well. And when there is a need to contact another department, it's better to contact directly the responsible of the department or the manager of the department, who can later on coordinate the rest of the employees. For instance, when some product has to be delivered, it's better always to first contact the manager of the logistics department, who is organizing the schedule of the drivers on which day to deliver a certain product.
So it sounds very structured, and
it is.
It's a process, and everybody knows their role and their job responsibilities. So I guess in that way you are mitigating all the risks and possibilities of.
It is, even though we are always trying to improve the processes.
You mentioned different type of ISO standards that you already have.
Yes, I think it's very important. We have implemented in Pharmachem already in 2003, but we have ISO standards implemented also in the laboratories, in the calibration lab in 2009, then in the environmental laboratory in 2010, and I think it's very important to follow it and to improve it, of course.
In that way you have the quality of your work in everyday activities. And is Pharmachem present on Macedonian national market, or you also are active on regional or maybe international?
Well, we are 67 people in total, and we mainly work on the Macedonian market, even though we offer our services in the neighboring countries. And we have often work on bilateral projects, again, with the neighboring countries, mainly in the environmental consultancy.
Yes.
So, let's say, focused in Macedonia, but always ready
Open,
for new
yes,
challenges and
that's nice. And
cooperation.
you mentioned that you have different type of professionals working here. So
Yes.
what is especially interesting for our students, because they're also from different fields, is to know a little bit more about this human resources process of recruitment, selection, and in overall how this all looks in your company. Usually this is very interesting to be shared, because these are the questions which are which students are concerned about. So can you tell us a little bit more about your human resources, your capital of your company? So how do you maintain the communication with them, their loyalty also maybe? Yes, some examples if you like to share.
Well, regarding the last part of the question, the loyalty, I'm proud to say that in all three companies there is at least one person who is from day one in the company. And in Pharmachem, for instance,
many years actually.
Yes. And in Pharmachem, for instance, half of the people are more than 10 years in the company. So we really work on long-term relationships with the employees and with the clients as well. So we try to encourage them. If there is need of postgraduate studies, we offer scholarships. If they are signing a contract for 5 years, they can obtain their postgraduate studies for free.
So you're paying for the master studies?
Yes.
Okay.
Then we offer so many trainings, at least once per year. Most of our colleagues go abroad on a certain training, on a fair or on a conference, in order to be up to date to the newest technology, to the newest trends, and later on to spread them among our clients. So it's interesting to work with new technologies and being in touch with sophisticated instruments all the time. Of course, when we have a good year, there is an award for everybody at the end of the year, and for certain positions that are key positions, there is also extra bonuses. But for some positions, there is the possibility to use the car 24 hours a day. On the other hand, for everybody, it is possible to use our vans when they need to move from one apartment to the other, or when they need some small loans for important life events.
So,
and there is also health insurance, private health insurance that is extra. Of course, we follow all the regulations and all the laws in the country, but there is we offer to all our employees extra private health insurance. There are also a lot of sport activities to spend good time together.
So we're seeing at the moment some of the impressions that you had from these activities. Yes,
more than 150 employees that participated in the marathons together with their spouses or children. Then we have a lot of excursions, well, twice a year, but it's nice to have these team building events and discuss.
Yes, here are also some impressions from these excursions where they were
in Macedonia on different mountains, lakes, and we have some trainings sometimes, and also some nice time together. Then there are also some of course some parties for the end of the year, and not only for the grown-ups but also for the kids. So Santa Claus is coming to bring us books at the end of every year, all the way from Rovaniemi, from Finland. So it's
Yes,
nice to
it
have.
sounds that you have a very familiar approach with your
yes.
very close approach with your employees, like a big family in a way.
Yes.
So it's I'm assuming, and I can conclude that you have very satisfied employees, and the retention is quite high, as you said, long period of time that they're staying in the company.
Yes, for me it's very important to have a harmonious team. That's how results are reached. But of course, we need all the time new energy, new creativity coming from
Can we
new.
discuss a little bit more
Yes.
about this? How do you make the decisions when there is a new job opening? So how do you decide, okay, we will now advertise a new job position?
Well, first of all, if we see that someone has a lot of extra hours, we try to monitor why it is so. Does the person need some extra trainings? Is he not good enough? Or it's really a peak period when there is a need of maybe reorganizing the other employees, reorganizing our own resources, and help in certain bigger projects if it's possible. But if we see that it's constantly so, that someone is having extra hours for a long period, and that it's not only because of a certain project or tender, but for another reason,
Bigger workload.
yes, then we decide to open a new position. Then we think, what do we need? What kind of background? What is it necessary to have a certain experience before, or can it be a freshly
So
graduate?
you employ both
person?
types,
Yes.
also
Yes.
fresh graduates and
Yes.
yes.
We usually advertise in 5 websites in Macedonia. The new
For employment.
Yes, the
websites?
new yes, for employment, the new job offerings. Also at the faculties, and then we spread the news between the professors with whom we collaborate.
And how
So-
the process of hiring looks like? So the moment then you already decided, yes, we need this position, you will
Yes.
advertise it, and from that point, how the process of hiring looks like?
Well, we analyze all the applications received. Sometimes, let's say for physicists, we only had 3 in a couple of months, but for other professions like biochemists, maybe there are several ones. We analyze the received CVs and motivation letters or references from the professors. Or
So what documents
from the
actually
previous jobs.
do you require for students? CV is a must?
Yes, CV.
Is there a required format of CV that you prefer?
No, but I would suggest that it's short and informative, and that everything that is written is really true, because
Yes, otherwise
we
they
ask
have a problem.
questions.
Yes.
And it's good to
They would
have an
like-
example of everything that is written. The writing skills are important because it's our first approach. So, and we write so many emails and letters, no matter the job, no matter the background.
So written
It is-
communication skills also.
Written communication
is
skills are
important,
important, and
yes.
it is seen already in the CV or in the motivation letter. Also, it's good to have some information about the company prior to writing the motivation letter, not to copy paste the same form for
Yeah,
every
this is a challenge, how
application.
to have an appealing motivation letter for the employer, yes.
At least to check our website to see that you have shown some extra interest, and in order to attract, to make your letter more attractive. So if it's a freshly graduate students, we ask only questions about the diploma thesis or what subject was the most interesting. But if it's someone who already had some small jobs and some other experiences, then the discussion is getting more interesting, and we usually concentrate on that part. So I really encourage everyone to seize any kind of opportunity for some small jobs or internships or
other extracurricular activities,
yes, hobbies that are
why do you recommend
important.
this? Because officially you hire a different type of engineering. Yeah, I think it's important to be emphasized. So, for instance, you are searching for a good chemist. It can be a freshly graduate student, but you're now pointing out on these soft skills.
Exactly.
So, why do you think these are very important? And can you tell us what else besides communication skills are important for?
Yes, for certain positions it's very important to be precise. For other positions it's very important to be very communicative.
So different positions require different soft skills.
Yes. Okay. But generally speaking, we like newcomers that are self-initiative, that are creative, that are willing to solve problems, so that show readiness of problem solving, and that like teamwork, that are teamwork players. So also we like a logic way of thinking, an organized way of working. We have some extra logic tests in Excel during the interview. So if someone says that he is playing chess or Sudoku, it's always a plus. If someone mentions that he's part of some sport activities, some
that implies to team team skills,
that already has some team spirits, or maybe if he's running marathons and has this endurance incorporated in his spirit, it's also important. Then we had recently employed an electrical engineer that was supposed to go to China very soon after his employment, and I was a bit worried, and I asked him how is he feeling comfortable with long distance flights and Chinese
different
food
cultures
and the different culture, etc. And he said immediately, no problem. I have been traveling to Australia, so no problem with long distance flights. And I said, interesting, how comes at this so early at this stage? And he informed me that besides being an electrical engineer, he was also part of a folk dancing club, and that he has traveled in many countries, but he would like to focus on his career in Macedonia. Anyway, no problems with the Chinese food or different cultures or long distance flights, which was also very important. And I would like to add that before going to these trainings, people of course require a certain knowledge, so there are pre-tests prior to the training, and there are also tests at the end to see if you were really present at the training and focused on the training. So when everything was done, all these trainings in China, at the end he was even showing some folk dances from Macedonia, and he was the star among all the international participants and the Chinese professionals.
So what we can conclude that extra hobby is always welcomed, especially if it is in this way enriching the personality and the character.
Exactly. It's good to find different ways to shape your personality and to try to be different, to stand out from the crowd.
Yes, because you had other chemists for sure on that opening, but you chose this one specifically because of these other skills. And yes, it's interesting, but soft skills, I would say, are as important as the basic knowledge. And it's important to know that once you finish with the studies, it doesn't mean that you finish with learning. When you enter a company, a new process of learning starts. So actually we like people that like to learn. So this ability and openness to learn is also one very highly evaluated aspect of
absolutely
this. So you mentioned there are some tests. You will, after that you have received the CVs and motivational letter and selected which are coming to a possible employee, then you also do some tests, as I understand?
Yes, so first the interview is with the responsible of the department where the person is going to work, and with the top management. There we discuss all that I mentioned previously, something about the basic knowledge, about the interests, soft skills, etc. Then we have some small logic exercises in Excel.
So no cheating.
Yes, and it's for any kind of background, so it's very general. But we try to understand how this person is organized and how is the way of thinking. Sometimes we have some psychological tests, but very rarely, only for certain positions.
More managerial, I would presume.
Exactly, yes. Well, we have also psychologists in the company. But afterwards, if all this was successful, then we invite the candidate to visit the company for 1 or 2 days according to their free time, and to get to know more the people with whom they are going to work, to know a bit more about the processes, and we give them small tasks like translation in English of a certain article, and we see that he types fast, that he's not typing without one finger, or the general way of communicating with the team, because I think it's important for both sides to be happy.
And this
the more
on the job testing, it comes before the interview or after? After the
it's
interview.
After the interview, after the
once
logic
you selected,
test, or if necessary psychological test. Then they visit the company for 1 or 2 days, and we give some small tasks, but they also can ask anything they want to know about the work, and to feel
it's
the
one thing
atmosphere in the
to
company.
read the job description, another is to be part of the environment and to really feel it.
Yes.
Can we go back a little bit about the interview? So this is also something that is very special and important, because it's an exciting moment.
Yes.
And students are usually anxious if they will get the job or no. So what type of questions do you ask? Can you give us some insight?
Well, we try to make it as relaxing and as a nice experience as possible, because even if the person is not employed in our company, maybe he will be employed in another company, and maybe we will be collaborating later on. So we really like that the candidate feels nice in our company, and that it's a nice discussion. And of course we need to select the best one, but it's important for both sides that it works as it should. So both sides should be happy, and we try with all these questions to find out if we can really cooperate together in the future. So the questions regarding the basic knowledge from the faculty are very general. If they have done some specific thesis or some job during the summer or an internship, then of course we ask more questions about that, and as I mentioned, other interests and hobbies, and then we discuss also in English. Macedonia is a small country, so English is a must.
So language skills are required. English as a language is the first, maybe other languages also?
Well, we are not requiring, but if someone speaks other languages, it's always a plus. Yes.
One also topic that is quite intensive is the salary. Should I ask about the salary? Will you ask about that? How does it work?
We usually always ask what is the range of salary that they expect at the beginning. What is the range of salary that would cover their needs, and what do they expect in a year time, after they have passed several trainings, after they have learned. Let's say the first year is really a process of learning, especially for newcomers, but after a year, what would be the salary that they expect? So we always ask. They're not always ready to answer, but we try to discuss it, because of course they are coming to work not for free, but so I think there are three key factors to be satisfied at work. One is, of course, the salary, then the team with whom they are working, and the kind of work and the possibilities for improvement in the career.
Yes. You mentioned several times also this investments in your employees. So this is part of your corporate social responsibility, right?
Yes.
Activities that you have. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, I think the corporate social responsibility is really incorporated in the spirit of the company, and we did a lot of projects.
Some pictures are already here. Can we see them?
We did a lot of projects, and we received a lot of awards. We even received the award for the Jubilee Award for all our activities from 2007 to 2017. So
quite recognized in the field. Huh?
Yes, and there have been a lot of projects regarding the community or the municipality, the team. But I would like to mention the one related to the support of the lady that reached the summit of Mount Everest, the first Macedonian lady.
This is the lady on the photo, yes?
Yes, so we supported her, and later on she came to make a presentation in front of us and our children to somehow persuade us that everyone has its own summit in our lives, that we should try to reach our own summits. For her it was the Mount Everest, for someone else it can be something different, and she brought all her equipment. So for the kids it was very interesting how the whole climbing was done. And since she is an artist, afterwards she was helping the kids to draw, and we made a calendar out of these drawings. So
wonderful.
That was, let's say, one of our projects that was awarded. We also invited the children of the employees on another occasion to let them know what are different professions, what their parents work, and
so
again,
career orientation for children.
Yes, right? And again, from their impressions, we made another calendar as a souvenir. Last year, we also had 80 scouts that visited our small environmental laboratory, where only 4 people are working. So it was done on several occasions, and they had tests at the end of all their visits to see if they learned something about the protection of the environment, about the pollution and different things that they were interested in. And they, at the end, they were receiving some badges like Scout Scientist after passing the tests. So we also offer internships for foreign students.
Yeah, we already have one questions. Yeah, students are very active. So we have one question about internships. And can you elaborate a little bit more? So what type of internship programs do you have? And when in there is an opening, how do you find the interns?
So we collaborate for 20 years with the International Organization of the Exchange of Students for Technical Experience. It's called the IAESTA. And for 20 years we are receiving international student in our laboratory. So the first one was back in 1997. She was from Japan, very sleepy at work the first week.
Because of the jet lag?
Yes.
Yeah.
The last one last year was from Scotland. I think it's very important to find a way. It doesn't need to be this organization, it can be some other organization, but to find a way to have an internship while being student, because in this way you can learn what you like, what you dislike. For instance, we had a student from Scotland that decided not to work in a biochemical laboratory anymore, and after finishing her studies in biology she chose another career path, and now she is working with non-governmental organizations because she liked this way.
You saved her some years in life of disappointment, yes.
I think so. We are still in touch, and she came in Macedonia several times after that traineeship.
So many international interns you have, as I understand.
I would just like to mention that there was one more student from Croatia that later on reached postdoc at Berkeley University. So many different students from different countries, and we are following what they're working now. Some of them work in the same institutions. We tried to get in touch. There was a Danish student that brought his students to Macedonia. When he became professor in Denmark, he brought his students in Macedonia to see a pharmaceutical company in Macedonia. Of course, there are many pharmaceutical companies in Denmark, but he wanted them to open the horizons, to share something, to see something different, to have a different experience. And I would suggest to everybody to seize any kind of opportunity to have a work abroad if possible. If you're from the north, go south. If you're from the west, go east, or change the continent, enlarge your horizons, learn about cultures, and work at the same time, and see how different organizations work. So it's a valuable experience that I personally had while being a student, and I encourage other students to do so. So if a foreign student cancels the internship, then we accept a Macedonian student.
So the position is first for foreign students, and then there is...
And we
How many per year interns
at least one, sometimes two. There are also some other Macedonian students that apply for shorter periods.
And these are how long?
These are for more than a month, and we have some Macedonian students applying for 2 weeks trainings, which is very short.
It is a mandatory in Macedonia to do internship, during studies.
But we had very good interns, and one of them was later on employed. Another one was invited to come and work again for 3 months. So it's also an opportunity to present
and to stay in the company.
And to stay in the company when they graduate.
Have a fit. There is a match.
Absolutely.
So another recommendation from this will be for students to be active in these international students organizations. Yes,
there are many. I think there are much more possibilities today than in the times when I was a student, but there are plenty of information at the universities, and it can be also some Erasmus programs or BEST, ISEC, etc. I mean, I'm sure there are many more today.
Good. Thank you. We have more questions coming, so I will read the next one.
Yes.
Can you explain the dynamics of the weekly company meetings? So a little bit about how you do things. Yes. Are they based on a proactive exchange of contributions? Are they led by department managers? So I think we can relate to these questions. Can your employees also propose ideas and activities? So how does this dynamic of the meetings looks like?
So usually the meetings within the departments are at the end of the week or on Mondays early morning, when they coordinate each other in more details. And then follows the meeting later on Mondays at 9 o'clock for all the company, where we don't go in so many details, but still we inform all the other departments of the activities from last week and of the plans for the following week. We try to implement all this also in our customers relation software. We try to do monthly plans and monthly reports, so anyone can follow. If someone was absent on the meeting, there are of course
so it is
reports
communicated
from the meeting. Yes,
to all employees.
It is communicated by email, but they can also see it in this software. And of course, it's very important to give ideas. And I think unless there is a need of a certain investment, if it's a good idea, it's implemented in the department right away. I remember there was one department that was spending a lot of time phoning their clients that there is a van in this part of the region of Macedonia coming on that day, etc. And someone said, okay, let's do reminders by SMS. We are spending a lot of time on the phones, and it was implemented right away. It was a very small thing, but
it saved time for you, yes, and costs.
So if it's a good idea, it's discussed in the department and it's implemented right away. If it needs more investments, and then we discuss with the top management, and we need more time to monitor if this is necessary or not. Of course, there are also ideas that can include more departments. Then we need some more meetings in order to see the views of every department and to coordinate us better. But we are always open for new ideas.
And these ideas, can they be submitted through email, in person? Is there a already established process?
Usually it is communicated within the department with the department manager. But even the top management is always open for discussion. So maybe at some point, if there was some misunderstanding within the department and with the department manager, it's always an option to communicate with the top management and to discuss once again the problem. So we are all involved in this process.
Open doors.
Absolutely, yes.
Through
email or through direct contact.
Open channel of communications. Yes. This you mentioned that ability to learn and to continuous education is quite important for your employees.
Yes.
Do you have career plans for your employees? So when you employ for the first time somebody, how does it look? This person will know what are the next steps maybe in career, or how do you communicate that and decide which educational trainings they should be taking?
Well, it goes step by step. First, they need to know all the softwares that are necessary. There is a software for finances, there is a laboratory information system, there is a software for the calibration lab, for the service department, this customer relation software. So according to their
they learn during the first year quite a lot.
Yes. Then from the manager of the department, they obtain certain tasks to accomplish. Whenever there is the possibility for a training for beginners, we try to send the newly employed person. But often there are webinars. The big companies sometimes try to restrict the expenses on trainings, and they make it online, which is quite also helpful.
Yes.
We organize trainings within the company, mainly for soft skills. And at a certain point, if after several years, we had this kind of situations that someone, let's say from the laboratories or from the service department, is somehow thinks that the work has become a routine and he is not motivated anymore. We have offered already to 2 people to move to the trade departments. There was also one person from a different trade department that changed the department.
So it's horizontal also.
It's a medium-sized company, but there are possibilities to change positions according to the will of the employees and the necessity.
Just on up level, but maybe some.
Yes. On the other hand, most of the middle management, the management departments, the managers of the departments, as well as the executive managers in the 3 companies, are people that grew up in the company, but that have showed not only good results in what they were doing, but showed also leadership skills, organizational skills, and they were chosen to be managers of a certain department or executive managers. Of course, it's not a lifetime position. If they're good enough, they stay at the position. Maybe another employee can become better with the years, and
so you continuously measure their performance.
Yes.
In order to reward them, and
yes.
We have another question. Can they choose in which institutions to carry on when we are talking about postgraduate studies, or you are the ones who are choosing the field and what topic is relevant for the company?
It has to be related to their actual work, and we usually do it for the state university in Macedonia. At the moment we cannot...
So they are going in the Macedonia.
Yes, at the moment we cannot make scholarships for some universities abroad, but who knows, maybe we will reach that level.
And there is a question I would like just to maybe answer it also, because one student is interested in your company, is asking civil engineers specifically. Do you have this profession, and there is a possibility for them to be employed here?
Well, it's the only profile that we don't have in the company. We had once upon a time. There is a department in which we represent a famous company from Italy, Controls, for testing of different asphalts or soils, or and it's related to construction companies and to building of new highways, etc.
So there is a possibility.
So if the business spreads in that field, we would require extra knowledge. Sometimes maybe we hire experts that are civil engineers, but who knows, maybe it will spread even more in that direction, that we would need civil
This
engineer within the
profession,
company, not only as outsourcing.
That's interesting. And do you measure the return on investments from these new learning, these investments in master studies, also PhDs? Are any employees with PhD studies? So do you measure this return on investment? Because I assume it's a quite lot of investment.
Well, I would like to mention that from 3 scholarships for postgraduate studies, at the moment none is finished, so we will have the results later on. There is also one person that is going to be employed next week, and she is on a PhD program. She is going to finish soon, but that was...
so PhDs can also find position in your company?
Yes. Actually, she is going to work on this nature conservation program in our environmental department, where a lot of skills are necessary. So regarding trainings and visits of fairs or conferences, certainly we try to check the return on investment, but we don't expect that it's right away. Sometimes it's...
So you see it as a long-term investment?
Yes, sometimes it's within the year, sometimes it's maybe next year, but of course we measure if it was a proper decision to do that certain training.
So your expectations when you invest in somebody in master studies, is it more that he will be better at the work that he's doing or she is doing at the moment, so improve the quality and the performance?
Yes.
What about new services, new product developments? Is this also some expectations, because they will gain new knowledge during the studies?
Yes, I think it's important to research in this field, in the subject they work, to be more open-minded, to get new knowledge, maybe to make new contacts with the professors or the experts in the field. So absolutely we expect that this will help them to enlarge their horizons and use it later on in their daily work. Of course, even for the dream jobs, there is a part of the job that is not so interesting, that is maybe annoying, but it has to be done. It is in the description of the job. So even for dream jobs, there is a part that maybe it's not so interesting, but it has to be done. And on the other hand, maybe for jobs that were not that interesting at first sight, if the person puts his personal input, he can make it interesting at some point. So I remember at the beginning of the foundation of this environmental department in the company, there were biologists, environmental engineers, and very small projects on which they were working. But after so many references, after so many years, now finally they are working in implementing their ideas together with the local communities, together with the ministries.
The dream job for an environmental engineer, I would say.
Yes, and it's very complex, very different, so they need a lot of knowledge, but of course they communicate with a lot of experts, mainly from the universities. And I think they never dreamed that they will make documentaries, and there is also a documentary movie at
so
the
you
moment.
mentioned there will be a link, and students can now follow, because we have questions especially about this environmental aspect, environmental engineers. So yeah.
Yes, they can check the link that is in the description of this YouTube channel, but also they can visit our webpage where there is a link to the project where there are 10 videos, 10 documentaries about all the activities that were done. It's very different from different sustainable practices on rice production and beekeeping to promoting ecotourism, mainstreaming biodiversity in the curricula of the forestry faculty, exchange of knowledge and experience between the forestry faculty in Skopje and Bern in Switzerland. Also elaborating the national strategy for nature conservation, etc., etc. So
definitely there is a possibility for somebody who is working and studying this environmental engineering field to think about a career prospect in your field, in your company.
As I mentioned, one person is going to be employed next week, and I think we were looking for 2 years to find the proper candidate. So it was very difficult, but we found, because we also have an extra office in Eastern Macedonia where 2 people are working, especially for for the needs of this project. So it was not so easy to find a person. We also had a placement recently in our environmental laboratory because one of our colleagues was pregnant, so on maternity leave, and so now we have also a new employee in the environmental laboratory.
Good. And regarding now all the activities that every employee has, you have all the job responsibilities, and you require quality, you require high performance. Is there a place for stress, and do you have some stress management techniques that you may recommend for your employees or also for our students?
Well, I think that within the company there is not a strict hierarchy, and that there is not that much stress within the team and within the departments. But on the other hand, we have clients that are very demanding, and there are always some last minute expectations to do something. Even though
these are the sources of stress, usually.
And even though we are trying to be good in time management, there is always something to be done last minute because of an important customer. Or there are so many social changes in our society and political changes that sometimes affect our work as well. So I think the stress that comes is rather from outside of the company, but certainly there is need to manage it. And this year we had some discussion, some training about stress management and ways to relax, the ways to accept it, absorb it, manage it. So I think we'll continue with this kind of different presentations, be it for stress management or organic food or the way we should.
So healthy lifestyle.
Yes, and we
yes.
we offer also a lot of sport events organized by the company.
So it's also a technique. Yes,
it helps for a stressful situation at the end of the day to play some basketball or some other sports like ping pong, etc. So we also organize this kind of sport events for our employees.
That sounds wonderful, yes, and I'm sure our students are also happy with that. So we are coming to our end of this conversation, so can you please recommend something to our students, maybe advise them, what can they do? Yes.
Well, I would mention 2 or 3 things. So seize every opportunity to open up your horizons with an internship or a job in your own country or abroad. Try to shape your personality with all kinds of courses that are interesting for you, maybe some hobbies or anything that will make you different, and try to always stand out from the crowd and never stop learning. Don't think that when you graduate it's the end. No, it's only the beginning, and it's
a new chapter.
A new chapter, exactly. And I would like to thank the audiences in their native language. So grazie a tutti gli studenti di Padova. Buona fortuna e siete benvenuti nella nostra ditta a Skopje, nella nostra sede a Skopje. Muchas gracias a todos, a la Universidad de Rioja. Buena suerte y bienvenidos en Macedonia. Kiitos Helsinki, kiitos Laura ja ona tervetuloa Pharmachem. Благодарност до студентите од UKIM, многу успех во кариерата и повелете во Pharmachem. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Winka. I hope our students enjoyed. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.